noise at the nearest police station as the snores of a drunken man. Here a cannon would make a boom, and the thunder would make a poof. It's a handy lodging, but, in short, you did not shout, and it is better so. I present you my compliments, and I will tell you the conclusion that I draw from that fact. My dear sir, when a man shouts, who comes? The police. And after the police? Justice. Well, you've not made an outcry. That is because you don't care to have the police and the courts come in any more than we do. It is because, I have long suspected it, you have some interest in hiding something. On our side we have the same interest, so we can come to an understanding. As he spoke thus, it seemed as though Thénardier, who kept his eyes fixed on M. Leblanc, were trying to plunge the sharp points which darted from the pupils into the very conscience of his prisoner. Moreover, his language, which was stamped with a sort of moderated, subdued insolence and crafty insolence, was reserved and almost choice, and in that rascal, who had been nothing but a robber a short time previously, one now felt the man who had studied for the priesthood. The silence preserved by the prisoner, that precaution which had been carried to the point of forgetting all anxiety for his own life, that resistance opposed to the first impulse of nature, which is to utter a cry, all this, it must be confessed, now that his attention had been called to it, troubled Marius, and affected him with painful astonishment. Thénardier's well-grounded observation still further obscured for Marius the dense mystery which enveloped that grave and singular person on whom Courfeyrac had bestowed the sobriquet of Monsieur Leblanc. But whoever he was, bound with ropes, surrounded with executioners, half plunged, so to speak, in a grave which was closing in upon him to the extent of a degree with every moment that passed, in the presence of Thénardier's wrath, as in the presence of his sweetness, this man remained impassive, and Marius could not refrain from admiring at such a moment the superbly melancholy visage. Here, evidently, was a soul which was inaccessible to terror, and which did not know the meaning of despair. Here was one of those men who command amazement in desperate circumstances. Extreme as was the crisis, inevitable as was the catastrophe, there was nothing here of the agony of the drowning man who opens his horror-filled eyes under the water. Thénardier rose in an unpretending manner, went to the fireplace, shoved aside the screen, which he leaned against the neighboring pallet, and thus unmasked the brazier full of glowing coals, in which the prisoner could clearly see the chisel, white-hot and spotted here and there, with tiny scarlet stars. Then Thénardier returned to his seat beside M. Leblanc. "I continue," said he. "We can come to an understanding. Let us arrange this matter in an amicable way. I was wrong to lose my temper just now. I don't know what I was thinking of. I went a great deal too far. I said extravagant things. For example, because you are a millionaire, I told you that I exacted money, a lot of money, a deal of money. That would not be reasonable. Mon Dieu, in spite of your riches, you have expenses of your own. Who has not? I don't want to ruin you. I am not a greedy fellow, after all. I am not one of those people who, because they have the advantage of the position, profit by the fact to make themselves ridiculous. Why, I'm taking things into consideration and making a sacrifice on my side. I only want 200,000 francs. Monsieur Leblanc uttered not a word. Thénardier went on. You see that I put not a little water in my wine. I'm very moderate. I don't know the state of your fortune, but I do know that you don't stick at money, and a benevolent man like yourself can certainly give 200,000 francs to the father of a family who is out of luck. Certainly you are reasonable, too. You haven't imagined that I should take all the trouble I have today and organize this affair this evening, which has been labor well bestowed, in the opinion of these gentlemen, merely to wind up by asking you for enough to go and drink red wine at 15 sous and eat veal at Desnoyers. 200,000 francs, it's surely worth all that. This trifle once out of your pocket, I guarantee you that that's the end of the matter, and that you have no further demands to fear. You will say to me, but I haven't 200,000 francs about me. Oh, I'm not extortionate. I don't demand that. I only ask one thing of you. Have the goodness to write what I am about to dictate to you." Here Thénardier paused. Then he added, emphasizing his words and casting a smile in the direction of the brazier, "I warn you that I shall not admit that you don't know how to write." A grand inquisitor might have envied that smile. Thénardier pushed the table close to M. Leblanc, and took an inkstand, a pen, and a sheet of paper from the drawer which he left half open, and in which gleamed the long blade of the knife. He placed the sheet of paper before M. Leblanc. "Write," said he. The prisoner spoke at last. "How do you expect me to write? I am bound." "That's true. Excuse me," ejaculated Thénardier. "You are quite right." And turning to Bigrenaille, "Untie the gentleman's right arm." Panchaud, alias Printanier, alias Bigrenaille, executed Thénardier's order. When the prisoner's right arm was free, Thénardier dipped the pen in the ink and presented it to him. "Understand thoroughly, sir, that you are in our power, at our discretion, that no human power can get you out of this, and that we shall be really grieved if we are forced to proceed to disagreeable extremities. I know neither your name nor your address, but I warn you that you will remain bound until the person charged with carrying the letter which you are about to write shall have returned. Now be so good as to write." "What?" demanded the prisoner. "I will dictate." M. Leblanc took the pen. Thénardier began to dictate. "My daughter—" The prisoner shuddered, and raised his eyes to Thénardier. "Put down 'my daughter,'" said Thénardier. M. Leblanc obeyed. Thénardier continued. "Come instantly." He paused. "You address her as thou, do you not?" "Who?" asked M. Leblanc. "Parbleu!" cried Thénardier. "The little one, the lark." M. Leblanc replied without the slightest apparent emotion. "I do not know what you mean." "Go on, nevertheless," ejaculated Thénardier, and he continued to dictate. "Come immediately. I am in absolute need of thee. The person who will deliver this note to thee is instructed to conduct thee to me. I am writing for thee. Come with confidence." M. Leblanc had written the whole of this. Thénardier resumed. "Ah! Erase 'come with confidence.' That might lead her to suppose that everything was not as it should be, and that distrust is possible." M. Leblanc erased the 3 words. "Now," pursued Thénardier, "sign it. What's your name?" The prisoner laid down the pen and demanded, "For whom is this letter?" "You know well," retorted Thénardier. "For the little one. I just told you so." It was evident that Thénardier avoided naming the young girl in question. He said the lark, he said the little one, but he did not pronounce her name, the precaution of a clever man guarding his secret from his accomplices. To mention the name was to deliver the whole affair into their hands, and to tell them more about it than there was any need of their knowing. He went on. "Sign. What is your name?" "Urbain Fabre," said the prisoner. Thénardier, with the movement of a cat, dashed his hand into his pocket and drew out the handkerchief which had been seized on M. Leblanc. He looked for the mark on it, and held it close to the candle. "U.F. That's it. Urbain Fabre. Well, sign it U.F." The prisoner signed. "As 2 hands are required to fold the letter, give it to me. I will fold it." That done, Thénardier resumed. "Address it Mademoiselle Fabre, at your house. I know that you live a long distance from here, near Saint-Jacques-du-Haut-Pas, because you go to mass there every day, but I don't know in what street. I see that you understand your situation. As you've not lied about your name, you will not lie about your address. Write it yourself." The prisoner paused thoughtfully for a moment, then he took the pen and wrote, "Mademoiselle Fabre, at Monsieur Urbain Fabre, Rue Saint-Dominique d'Enfer, No. 17. Thénardier seized the letter with a sort of feverish convulsion. "Wife!" he cried. The Thénardier woman hastened to him. "Here's the letter. You know what you have to do. There is a carriage at the door. Set out at once, and return ditto." And addressing the man with the meat-axe, "Since you have taken off your nose-screen, accompany the mistress. You will get up behind the fiacre. You know where you left the team?" "Yes," said the man. And depositing his axe in a corner, he followed Madame Thénardier. As they set